Okay, so you know how we love to like really get into the nitty-gritty of things here on the deep dive? Well,
Yeah.
all of you listeners out there, you were all buzzing about this book, The High Five Habit by Mel Robbins.
Oh, yeah, it's been pretty popular.
Yeah, and it really fits right in with like what we try to do here, diving deep, finding those little golden nuggets of wisdom.
Right, those aha moments.
Exactly, but without, making your brain feel totally fried.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's our mission today with this deep dive. How can this one tiny little daily habit actually like transform how you feel about yourself?
Absolutely. And I think what's so interesting right off the bat is, it's this idea of giving yourself a high five in the mirror every day.
Like every single day.
Yeah, every single day. And it sounds so simple.
Right.
It almost seems too good to be true.
Yeah, you're like, come on, really?
But the book actually makes this really compelling argument that, we're often so quick to cheer other people on,
Yeah.
but we forget to offer that same like basic support and celebration to ourselves.
Which, when you really think about it, I mean, it is kind of true for so many of us, right? It's
Mm.
like life just piles on all this stuff.
Work?
Yeah, work, family, keeping all the balls in the air.
Yeah, all the things.
And before you know it, you're like at the very bottom of your own to-do list.
Yeah, you're the last priority.
And that's when like the negative self-talk can really start to creep in.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
Oh, yeah. And you just feel drained, like mentally and emotionally bankrupt.
Yeah, totally. And that's where this book comes in.
Yeah.
It offers like a really concrete starting point for shifting that.
Okay, so like what kind of stuff does it actually suggest?
Well, it lays out tons of really practical strategies for how you can start to actively support and acknowledge yourself every single day.
Every day.
Yeah. And what sets it apart from, like a typical self-help book is that it uses all this like research.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Science, personal stories, real world examples.
Okay, so it's not just fluffy feel-good stuff.
No, it's grounded in real evidence.
Okay, I like that.
It aims to really inspire you to take charge.
Okay, so what's the like big why behind all of this? Like, why should we even care about giving ourselves high fives?
Right. So the book really emphasizes this idea that, needing to feel celebrated and validated by yourself.
By yourself.
Yeah, that's the key here. Like
Yeah.
truly seen and heard and acknowledged by you.
Hmm.
It argues that these aren't just like nice to haves. They're actually fundamental emotional needs.
Interesting.
And all the research it cites suggests that we truly thrive when we provide ourselves with this kind of like internal support system.
That's like being your own best friend.
Yeah, exactly. Like being your own cheerleader.
Okay. I'm starting to see the appeal here.
Right.
So where do we even begin with this whole high five thing?
Well, the first step the book recommends is surprisingly simple. It's starting each day by giving yourself a high five in the mirror.
In the mirror.
Yeah, like literally looking yourself in the eye and high-fiving your reflection.
Okay, I can see how that might feel a little awkward at first.
It might feel silly, yeah, but there's actually more to it than meets the eye.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's more than just a physical gesture. It's actually like a direct communication of celebration and belief.
To yourself.
Exactly. And the idea is that it goes straight to your subconscious, bypassing that critical voice in your head.
That little voice that's always like, yeah, right.
Exactly. The one that might immediately dismiss any like spoken affirmations if you're not really feeling them.
So it's like sneaking past the gatekeeper.
Yeah, kind of like a little jolt of positivity that can slip right through.
Okay, I like that. So even if you don't totally buy into it at first, that high five can start to like plant those seeds.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
way to start reprogramming those automatic thought patterns.
Okay, now I'm really curious about how this physical action, like a high five, can actually impact how we think and feel about ourselves.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the book touches on this concept called neurobics.
Aerobics.
Yeah, it's basically the idea that specific physical actions can actually help to build new pathways in your brain.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like you're actually changing the physical structure of your brain.
So it's not just like positive thinking, it's actually rewiring things.
Right, exactly. And the book draws this really interesting parallel to how they treat dyslexia.
Oh, wow. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, so with dyslexia, there are these specific physical exercises that help to improve cognitive skills.
What kind of exercises?
Things that involve crossing the midline of your body, like touching the opposite hand to the opposite knee.
Oh, interesting.
And these exercises actually help to create new connections between the two hemispheres of your brain.
Huh. So it's like rewiring the communication pathways.
Exactly. And the book suggests that this high five is kind of like an aerobic spark.
A spark?
Yeah, it's like a new physical input that can nudge your brain towards a more positive self-perception.
Hmm. I see. So it's like introducing a new signal into an established system.
Right, and it can start to shift the way your brain processes information about yourself.
Okay, so even though it seems super simple, that daily high five could actually be the start of something much bigger.
Absolutely. It's like planting a seed that can grow into a whole new way of thinking.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. Now, one of the first things the book really hammers home is the importance of self-kindness.
Oh, yeah, that's foundational to the whole thing.
Like, why is that so important?
Well, the book talks about this study from the University of Hertfordshire.
Okay, never heard of it.
It's in the UK,
Yeah.
but their findings were really interesting.
Okay, tell me.
So they found that self-acceptance,
You mean like accepting yourself for who you are, warts and all?
exactly, being genuinely kind and supportive towards yourself,
Okay.
well, that turned out to be the #1 predictor of happiness and overall life satisfaction.
Wow. Really, even more than like money or success or...
Even more than things we often think are so important, like exercise or good relationships.
Okay, now that is a serious aha moment.
Right. It kind of makes you stop and think.
Yeah, because we often think we need to achieve all this stuff or fix all our flaws before we can be
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah, we put so much pressure on ourselves.
But this research is saying like actually just changing how you talk to yourself right now is the key.
That inner dialogue is so powerful.
It really is. So that's where this high five habit comes in.
Yeah, it's a direct and tangible act of self-kindness.
So every time you look in the mirror and give yourself that high five,
You're sending this clear message to yourself like, I see you, I acknowledge you, and I'm on your side no matter what.
that's a pretty powerful message.
It is, and it can start to chip away at those negative beliefs we often hold about ourselves.
Okay, speaking of negative self-talk, the book spends a lot of time on how to break those ingrained patterns.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
Yeah.
Because those automatic critical thoughts can really do a number on your confidence.
Ah, tell me about it.
What's important to understand is that these negative self-beliefs,
Like what kind of beliefs?
those thoughts like, I always mess things up, or I'm just not good enough,
Ugh, yeah, that was a worst.
they can become so deeply wired into our thinking.
Like a default setting almost.
Right, and that's why just hearing positive affirmations from other people often doesn't really work.
It's like trying to convince yourself of something you don't believe.
Exactly. It's like pouring water into a cup that's already full of something else.
So those compliments just kind of bounce right off.
They don't really penetrate because your inner monologue is so much louder.
It's like drowning out any positive messages.
Exactly, and that's where the physical action of the high five comes in.
Okay, how so?
Well, it's a nonverbal affirmation, a physical embodiment of support that starts to counteract those negative narratives.
So it's like bypassing the language part of your brain and going straight to the feeling.
Right. And the book suggests that the consistency of this action can create new neural associations, gradually weakening the grip of that inner critic.
Okay, so it's like training your brain to respond differently to those negative thoughts.
Exactly. Over time, it can become more of a habit to focus on the positive.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, another concept that the book dives into is the role of the RAS, the reticular activating system.
Oh, yeah, that's a fascinating one.
Can you explain that for our listeners who might not be familiar?
Sure. So think of your RAS as like a filter in your brain.
A filter.
Yeah, it basically prioritizes information based on your existing beliefs and what you consider important.
Okay, so it's like deciding what to pay attention to and what to ignore.
Exactly. And the problem is, if you constantly entertain negative thoughts,
About yourself or the world.
yeah, your RAS will subconsciously start looking for evidence that confirms those beliefs.
Oh no, so it's like creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Kind of, yeah. It's like you're training your brain to focus on the negative.
So even if there are positive things happening, you might not even notice them.
Right, because your RAS is filtering them out.
Okay, that's a little scary, but also kind of empowering, because if you can retrain your RAS,
Exactly. That's the key.
then you can start to see more of the good stuff.
Right. And that's where the high five habit comes in.
Okay, so
By consciously starting your day with this positive interaction, that high five,
yeah,
and by actively working to reframe those negative thoughts,
like flipping the script.
right, and focusing on what truly matters to you,
Okay.
you can actually start to retrain your RAS.
So you're essentially giving it new instructions about what to pay attention to.
Exactly. You're teaching it to look for opportunities and positive aspects that you might have missed before.
So it's like putting on a new pair of glasses and seeing the world in a whole new light.
Yeah, it's a powerful shift in perspective.
Okay, I love that. And the book gives this really practical example of how to start this retraining with the heart rock exercise.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
Can you remind us what that is?
Sure. So it's basically this challenge to start noticing naturally occurring heart shapes in your environment.
Like in nature.
Yeah, in nature,
Mm.
in patterns on clothing, anywhere you might see them.
Okay, sounds kind of fun, actually.
It is. It's like a little scavenger hunt.
Yeah, and by doing that, you're training your brain to focus on those positive symbols.
Exactly. You're signaling to your brain that you want to see more of the good stuff.
And it's like a low-pressure way to start shifting your attention.
Right. It's not about forcing yourself to be positive all the time. It's just about gently nudging your brain in a new direction.
Okay, I love that. Now, another concept that the book talks about is behavioral activation therapy.
Oh, yeah. That's a powerful one.
This idea of taking action even if you don't feel motivated sounds really interesting.
It is. It's all about the idea that by behaving like the person you want to be,
Even if you don't feel like it.
yeah, even if you don't feel like it, you can actually start to change your own self-perception.
So it's like faking it till you make it.
Kind of, but it's more than just faking it. It's about taking concrete actions that align with your desired self.
And your brain sees you doing those things and starts to believe it.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like you're providing evidence to your brain that you are capable of being that person.
I see. So it's like actions speak louder than thoughts.
Exactly. And the high five habit can be a really good starting point for embodying this desired self.
How so?
Well, it's the small, consistent action of self-support.
That high five in the mirror.
Right. And it can build momentum and encourage you to take further steps that are in line with who you want to become.
Okay, so it's like a stepping stone to bigger changes.
Yeah, and the book shares this inspiring story about a health coach named Christian.
Okay, what's her story?
Well, she found that the self-love she cultivated through the daily high five,
That little gesture.
yeah, it actually became the catalyst for her to finally prioritize her own health.
Wow, so it had a ripple effect.
Yeah, and then that allowed her to help others do the same.
So it's like paying it forward.
Exactly. Once you start taking care of yourself, you can start to make a difference in the lives of others.
Okay, that's pretty powerful.
Hmm.
Now, the book also gives some really practical tools for dealing with limiting beliefs.
Oh, yeah, those pesky beliefs that hold us back.
Yeah, and I love the concept of flipping those beliefs into more empowering statements.
Yeah, that's a game changer.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure. So like taking the thought, I always screw everything up.
Ugh, I hate that thought.
Yeah, and intentionally reframing it as, I forgive myself for the things I did when I was just trying to survive.
Uh,
Every day, I'm becoming a better version of myself.
wow, that's so much more compassionate.
It is. It's about shifting from self-condemnation to self-compassion.
And acknowledging that you're on a journey.
Exactly. You're not perfect, but you're growing and learning.
Okay, and what about jealousy? I feel like that's a big one for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. But the book has this great reframe for it.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So instead of thinking, if somebody else has it, I can't.
Yeah, that's the classic jealousy trap.
Right. Instead, flip it to, their success is just proof that I can have it too.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Turns jealousy into inspiration.
It's like reframing it as a possibility instead of a limitation.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that the book encourages you to see jealousy as an indicator of a blocked desire.
A blocked desire.
Yeah. So instead of just feeling resentful of someone else's achievement,
Which is the natural reaction.
yeah, you ask yourself, what is it that I truly want that this person's success is highlighting for me?
Oh, that's good.
And once you identify that desire, you can start to take steps to pursue it.
Okay, so jealousy becomes a motivator instead of downer.
Exactly. It's a way to channel that energy into something positive.
I love that. Now, another interesting distinction the book makes is between acting out of guilt versus acting from love.
Oh, yeah, that's a profound one.
It really makes you think about your motivations.
It does. So the book suggests that when we act out of guilt,
Like feeling like we should do something.
yeah, out of obligation or fear of disappointing others,
Okay.
it can lead to resentment and feeling restricted.
Because you're not really doing it for yourself.
Exactly. But when we act from a place of love,
You mean like consciously choosing to do something because it aligns with our values?
yeah, or our desires,
Yeah.
then it feels empowering and opens up possibilities.
It's like the difference between have to and want to.
Right. And the author's story about moving the pool table really illustrates this.
Oh, yeah. What was that about again?
So she had this pool table that belonged to her father, and she felt obligated to keep it.
Out of guilt.
Exactly. But it was taking up space in her house, and she didn't really want it.
So she was torn.
Yeah, she was struggling with this conflict between honoring her father's memory and honoring her own needs.
And what happened?
Well, eventually she realized that she could still love her father and let go of the pool table.
It wasn't a betrayal.
Right. It was about choosing to act in a way that felt true to herself.
And how did that make her feel?
Liberated.
Yeah.
It was like this weight had been lifted.
Wow. So it's about recognizing that sometimes letting go of things or saying no is actually an act of self-love.
Exactly. It's about setting boundaries and prioritizing your own well-being.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, shifting gears a bit, the book also talks about the power of setting deadlines,
Oh, yeah. Deadlines are crucial.
especially for those of us who tend to procrastinate.
Yeah, we all have those good intentions that never quite materialize.
So how do deadlines help?
Well, the book argues that they turn goals from abstract wishes into tangible commitments.
So it's like making it real.
Exactly. It introduces a sense of urgency and propels you to take action.
I can see that.
The book shares this story about a guy named Eduardo who had always dreamed of moving to California,
Okay.
but he kept putting it off.
Someday I'll move to California.
Yeah, that's the classic line.
Yeah.
But then he finally set a deadline for himself.
Yeah.
He actually did it. He packed up his stuff and moved.
Wow. So the deadline gave him the push he needed.
It did. It forced him to take concrete steps and make it happen.
That's so inspiring. Okay, now another topic that really resonated with me was the discussion about the anxiety of trying to fit in.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
I feel like it's something that starts so early in life.
It does, and it can stick with us for years.
So why do we get so caught up in trying to fit in?
Well, the book talks about how this pressure to conform to external expectations.
You know, like trying to be what other people want us to be.
Exactly. It can create a lot of anxiety because it disconnects us from our true selves.
It's like we're constantly trying to be someone we're not.
Yeah, and that can be exhausting.
And it takes us away from our own authentic path.
Exactly. And this need for external validation often starts in childhood.
Like trying to fit in with the cool kids.
Yeah, we're trying to please our parents or teachers.
And it can carry over into adulthood.
Definitely. It can affect our relationships, our career choices, everything.
It's like we're always second-guessing ourselves.
And worrying about what other people will think.
So how do we break free from that?
Well, the book emphasizes the importance of prioritizing your own genuine feelings and desires.
Over the need for approval from others?
Exactly. It's about asking yourself, does this feel right for me? Rather than, will they like this?
And the author shares her own experience at an Oprah event.
Oh, yeah. What was that about?
So she was feeling really uncomfortable because she didn't want to be labeled as a life coach.
Even though she was coaching people?
Yeah, but the label just didn't feel right to her.
And she had to overcome that discomfort and just be true to herself.
Which takes courage.
It does, but
Yeah.
it's so worth it. Because when you're aligned with your true self, that's when you feel the most confident and content.
So it's about finding that inner peace and not letting the opinions of others dictate your path.
Exactly. It's about trusting your own intuition and following your own heart.
Okay, now since life is full of challenges, the book also talks about how to navigate difficult times with self-compassion.
Oh yeah, self-compassion is essential, especially when things get tough.
Because that's when we tend to beat ourselves up.
Right, we get critical and judgmental.
So what does the book suggest?
Well, it introduces this practice called the high five to your heart.
Okay, that sounds interesting. What is it?
So you put your hands over your heart
Okay.
and you take some deep breaths
Deep breaths. Yeah.
and you repeat this phrase to yourself. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm loved.
Wow. That's so simple, but it sounds so powerful.
It is. And what's really cool is that it's connected to your vagus nerve.
Vagus.
Yeah, it's this long nerve that runs from your brain down to your abdomen.
Okay.
And it plays a huge role in regulating your body's stress response.
Interesting.
So by placing your hands on your heart and breathing deeply, you're actually stimulating your vagus nerve.
And that helps to calm you down.
Exactly. It interrupts those racing thoughts and brings you back to a sense of peace.
Wow. So it's like a physical hack for your nervous system.
Kind of. It's a way to tap into your body's natural calming mechanisms.
Okay. I love that now finally the book delves into the Zeigarnik effect and the power of visualization.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite parts.
Can you explain those concepts for our listeners?
Sure. So the Zeigarnik effect is basically the psychological phenomenon where we tend to remember unfinished tasks more than finished ones.
It's like that nagging feeling of something you still need to do.
Exactly. And the book suggests that our unfulfilled dreams work in a similar way.
So they stay in the back of our minds.
Yeah, and they can act as a motivator, whether we're conscious of it or not.
So it's like those dreams are always there waiting for us to take action.
Exactly. And then there's visualization.
There is
It's about creating a vivid mental picture of yourself achieving your goals.
Okay, so it's like daydreaming.
Kind of, but it's more than just daydreaming. It's about actively engaging your imagination.
So how does visualization actually help?
Well, when you vividly visualize yourself going through the process of achieving your goal.
Not just the end result, but all the steps involved.
Exactly. You're actually priming your brain for those actions.
So it's like a mental rehearsal.
Right. And the more detailed your visualization, the more effective it is.
Okay, and the author's story about the painting is a great example of this.
Oh, yeah. That's a powerful one.
Can you remind us what that was about?
Sure. So she had this dream of owning a specific painting,
Okay.
and she visualized it in great detail.
Like where it would hang in her house.
Yeah, and she imagined herself saving up the money to buy it.
And did she get it?
She did, but not in the way she expected.
Oh, what happened?
Well, years later, she randomly came across this sister painting.
The sister painting?
Yeah, like the matching painting from the same artist.
Wow. What are the chances?
I know, it's crazy. But then she also ended up moving to Vermont,
Okay.
which is where the original painting was located.
No way.
Yeah, so all these seemingly unrelated events came together.
Because she had been visualizing that goal for so long.
Exactly. It's like her subconscious mind was working behind the scenes to make it happen.
That's amazing.
It really shows how powerful visualization can be.
And how life can surprise you in wonderful ways.
Absolutely. It's all about staying open to possibilities.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the high five habit, it's clear that it's not just a silly gesture.
It's a powerful tool for transformation.
It's about building a more supportive and loving relationship with yourself.
Yeah, and that can ripple out into all areas of your life.
So the key takeaway for our listeners is to start small
Begin with that daily high five in the mirror.
and pay attention to any shifts you notice.
In your mindset, your energy, your outlook on life.
See how it feels for you.
And then explore these other concepts we've talked about.
The power of self-kindness, retraining your RAS, flipping those negative thoughts.
And taking consistent action towards your goals.
And as a final thought for you to ponder,
Yeah, what's one small act of self-encouragement that you can commit to today?
right now, after listening to this conversation,
Something that feels good and true for you.
and how might that one small act create a ripple effect?
Changing your perspective and your reality over time.
That's something worth exploring.
It is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.